Okay, thanks, folks, for joining us again on a Family Through Service, a V2VG podcast. And this is part 2 on, why we can't have good things.
Yeah, really, I mean, I know it's cliche because when people say that, you think of physical, tangible things.
Right.
But these arguments, these debates affect us individually and as a culture. So
a culture, a nation, yeah, it's big. And in this this video episode, whatever, we want to talk about what's happening in America with the Roe versus Wade potential overturning and abortion in general. And again, I said last time, we've talked about this before, but like you said, Chuck, this isn't about our opinion, personal opinions, as much as it's about why it's such a contentious issue. Why is it such a contentious issue?
So, for example, when it comes to gun rights situation, the conversation, the most frequently topic that I've seen in that topic for common ground is that neither side wants children being killed.
Of course not. Yeah.
So that's a great common ground to start from. Now,
you can go from there.
From there, yeah, you can, do we need more gun control? Do we need teachers armed? Do we need this, that? But at least we can agree that the average American person does not want to see children harmed.
Right, and
there
murders
are psychopaths
in the streets is not what we're looking for. That's not the position of the 2A community.
Especially our children,
Especially
right?
our children, yeah.
With the abortion, and you and I have talked about this at length, about the different aspects. So, right now, the aspects that we see in the abortion argument, we have the political. So, we have... In political, it's really the far left or the far right. So the far right says no abortions are ever possibly allowed. The far left is saying even if they survive an abortion, we should leave them in a room to die.
If we're attached by them or whatever, yeah.
So you look at those two.
Those are the extremes of both sides. Right.
How are you supposed to find common ground? And then you take the aspect of a woman versus a man. In this case, right?
In this instance,
we know the baby's not growing inside of us as a father, and the responsibility falls far heavily on a woman than a father.
Course.
So,
yep.
so there is that
junction,
debate, and then you have the religious belief of the different variations of Christianity, which I try not to put the Catholic faith into the overwhelming weird faith aspect of Christianity, because I feel like anybody who says that they believe in Christ can be Christianity. It's slightly different as far as a pure Catholic goes, in my opinion. But so you add there's like 5 points right there that
and when does
argue against each other.
When does life begin?
And then there's the science. Exactly. So as of now, science books say at conception, right? Mm-hmm. That's when new DNA is brought, so the issue is...
So where's the common ground for that? Where's the common ground for in which trimester? Who makes that decision? If it's on Monday is the day and Tuesday is the cutoff day, who makes that decision? Because guess what? All human pregnancies don't last for 9 months.
And then that brings up viability.
And viability.
Decides what viability
is. Because we're constantly amazed, right? Doctors are constantly amazing me and society by bringing out children from the womb earlier and earlier and earlier and keeping them alive.
Just things like the heartbeat. When we were in our mother's wombs, they had to wait almost to the second trimester to hear.
At that time.
To hear.
Yeah.
Now, it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Anytime between 6 and 8 weeks, you can hear it because of technology, not because
So there's all these. I feel it's a multifaceted, dynamic issue, but it's also like a ball of gel, because, like the Second Amendment issue, it might be multifaceted, but it's a baseball, and you can hold it and you can define it, right, and then you can turn it to this angle, and say, okay, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. But with the abortion issue, it's more like it's kind of like a blob, right? Nobody can quite get a handle on it to even turn to a specific topic and not kind of bleed into another one.
And I like that analogy because as soon as there seems to be some sort of growth on the blob, so like one section starts to pull on it, you have almost always the exact opposite pulling it the opposite direction.
Yeah,
so
on either side.
There's no availability to find a common ground.
So if you and I were pitching this baseball back and forth to each other, it's easier to catch a more defined topic like Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
Now, if we were pitching a ball of putty back and forth, loose putty, like the abortion issue, it's a lot harder to catch and hold on to without one of us dropping the ball, and the argument just fucking dissolves into everything.
And
I swore,
biggest part.
and we're going to talk about this in a minute.
Yeah, but that's the biggest part. So, in your opinion, if there was a way to find a common ground or a line in the sand, what do you think that would have to be? Like,
well, my view is the same as what my church teaches: is that life begins at conception.
But in your view, what would be the closest thing to a middle ground to commit to?
If I had to say, okay, we're going to have a discussion, I would. It's tough because I do believe life begins at conception, so you can't really abort the baby. But for the sake of starting an argument from a defined point and then going in either direction, I would have to say the heartbeat.
And I pretty much agree. I'm not religious, so I think that there are always going to be circumstances. But so let's say that you believe that for the purpose of this, that a baby or a fetus becomes an actual own individual at the heartbeat because it's got fingers, toes. What if I say, well, as long as it is inside the mother's womb and needs the mother's nutrients, how are we ever going to be able to come to any type of agreement?
Neither one of us are willing to concede the other one has any type of point.
But there's it's so far apart.
It's too far apart.
And
yeah.
So
even from square one, you have an issue.
Yeah, and
a big issue.
And
if you can't define the terms of the argument, then your argument's bound to fail. Facts be damned.
And exactly. And you can go the route to saying, okay, and because of my religious faith at conception, well, I can go as far in the opposite direction and say, well, if it needs its mother's nutrients, then it's okay to kill this child even if it's breastfeeding.
Because it needs its mother's nutrients. But then they would say, yeah, but you can have formula.
And then,
so that means that you can kill your baby while it's in the third trimester, 1 day away from being born, according to that logic.
And that's the thing.
And that's the problem. And this issue, because we're talking about life, right? Life and death, literally life and death. It immediately goes to logical fallacies and very often ad hominem attacks. You're wrong, or we get the common, if you don't have a uterus, you don't have a say. But I thought men could be women. If you identify as a woman, you're a woman. But so Caitlyn Jenner, for example, that's a
whole other aspect.
Caitlyn Jenner, for example, was Woman of the Year. And so can he or she, depending on which view you have, can Caitlyn Jenner have an opinion on abortion because Caitlyn Jenner doesn't have a uterus, but is considered a woman? You see how it starts to devolve,
and that's the issue.
It's a hypocrisy and something else.
Every time you think you can find something, there's something else that is,
which is why it's that blob. Yeah,
and it is difficult because when you hear that, and I recently actually heard that. Oh, who are you to have an opinion? Well, first of all, that's a direct attack on me.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. You don't get to have an opinion because you're not a woman.
I'm not making the decision for anybody.
And first of all, and second of all, do you know what an opinion? Do you know what an opinion means? Define opinion.
Right. So and then
it's a statement of your personal beliefs.
So it turned into a personal attack, and then it goes into that the bandwagon thing of all Republicans want to ban abortion so that we can have overcrowded streets and everything. Well, okay, if that's the case, then why is it that the Democrats or the Republicans seem to be fighting against border control? So it's like you start throwing all these other weird things.
It doesn't make sense. And that, of course, that is the straw man argument, because then you are, according to this, a straw man. No, it attacks a different subject, right?
Yeah.
It's also moving the goalpost.
and that's
right?
the
And
thing.
it's I think in the abortion topic, you get all the logical fallacies thrown at people all the time,
and then
especially if you're a man.
And then falsely, because I was told that trying to get the person's view on when the fetus is known to be its own individual thing is a red herring. But that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite of a red herring.
Because we can't agree on that definition or something close, because you can look at, say, the Harpy Bill and nothing past the first trimester. Those are pretty close. So it's somewhat of a common ground. But when you're talking about all or nothing, or you don't get to have a view, and my religion says this, and well, some men can have babies, but others can't. This is the one topic
you can't just get everything you want. It's the one topic that falls apart because neither side typically is willing to listen to the other side. And if you're a man, the diehard pro-choice, pro-abortion people don't even take your opinions into consideration. Even if you're a doctor, don't care. Right? And if you're on the far right, pro-life, you're going to say, you just want to murder babies, and I don't care what you have to say. You see how that's a problem right from square one?
Yeah. And so what I've tried to do, because I have cut off with the social media stuff, I've tried to not argue.
Yeah.
But when I do bring up a conversation or have a conversation with people, before I voice my view or my opinion, what I try and do is ask a lot of questions. I try and find out, well, okay, so where is point A, B, and C for you?
Yeah, where are you coming from?
So that way I can, even if I don't agree, maybe I can understand, you were raped. Or maybe you
whatever,
did
yeah.
have
some tragic situation. Why do you feel, again, we said this last time, right? Why is it that you, the opponent, feels the way you do? From there, we can start our discussion, our debate, from that point.
And so
right, not from the generalization.
Yes.
Do you believe in abortion or not? First of all, do I believe in abortion? Yes, because it's a fact. It happens. Do I agree with abortion? Yes. No, I don't agree with abortion. But for the sake of argument, when is it an abortion?
Exactly.
Right?
And even though you may not agree with it, you can find some grounds of empathy if the argument is brought
if it's brought up properly, calmly. And this is a big one. If the opponent, the other person, if you're on a pro-life side, if the other person actually values your opinion as a valid opinion, because, and like I said before, typically if you're a man, you can have all the facts and statistics in the world and be as calm and nice as you want, and they fall right back to, you're a man, you don't get to have an opinion. And that's, how can you even start that from somebody who says your voice doesn't matter?
And I think that's
on this topic.
And I think that the reason that has become what it is because twofold. One, that has actually caused more men, and I use loosely, people who are able to impregnate young ladies are not being fathers because they're told right from the beginning that their opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it also makes it easier to kind of sway women one way or the other.
It's an appeal. Again, that's the logical fallacy of an appeal to pity, right? You're pulling on heartstrings.
Yeah.
I have to carry the baby for 9 months, and a woman has to do all this work, and it's damaging to the woman's body and all this stuff, and men have to do nothing. Men don't carry the baby. Men don't have an opinion. That's an appeal to pity. You're pulling on emotions and not facts.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, because of my personal experiences, that abortion affects the man also.
Yes. And we actually talked about this before. A friend of
not
yours.
In the same way. I'm not equivocating it affects in the same way, but the decision to abort the child affects the father of the child typically in the same way because the father has zero say in it, legally speaking, I should say,
and
medically.
It's to the point now where even if the individual is underage, the parents don't, and that's a whole nother aspect.
Don't have a say or even know.
And a whole separate topic I do want to get to, even though it seems related, is Planned Parenthood as an organization is very different than what people think it is. And I would like to get to another video, but I don't want to include it in this topic.
Yeah.
But my opinion is, if you are eager to at least learn and try and understand people. Maybe you're in high school, maybe you're going to college, you have debate or public speaking classes, or
I say take those classes, man. Learn what the logical fallacies are, learn how to avoid them, learn how to spot them, right? And mostly learn how to argue without getting subjectively, emotionally invested in something, even if it's an emotional topic like abortion.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
Again, your argument's going to fall apart if you start getting worked up about it, because people are not going to listen to that. They're going to be like, this person's a nut job.
And also if you're in your late teens and your first time long relationship, you're getting to know that other person's family. The way I think that the healthiest way to go about trying to have any conversation that's a hot topic is asking questions, waiting for a response, right? So, okay, well, when do you feel that a fetus is a baby? Okay, after the heartbeat. Okay. So now let them ask you the same thing. Answer them honestly. Like, let it be a true give and take.
And it should be, right? A discussion, a classic argument, like, it should be a discussion and not a fight. And a verbal fight, or a physical fight.
And like we talked about the last episode, is you cannot let one person's viewpoint or belief, unless it's a truly criminal thing like killing people, arson, things like that, affect your relationship with other people. You can disagree with somebody. You can be completely pro-life, and conception is the here all be are, and your father-in-law can be completely, whenever they want to kill it, they can kill it, whatever. That doesn't mean that relationship has to be severed.
It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. Just means
you don't talk that topic anymore.
You say, I understand where you're at. You understand where I'm at. We disagree. We're not going to change each other's minds. Let's move on to something else.
Let's talk about that local sports team.
How about them Sox,
But it's really important to make it a give and take, and trying to keep it to.
I agree. I think it's
vital.
I think it's vital. If you can't find common ground, then you have no starting point. It's like trying to race in the snow or the sand and expect to get the world's fastest record on a sprint.
Yeah.
It's bound to fail from the start.
And so before you talk about, we don't typically get a lot of comments and stuff, but for this topic specifically, I really hope people comment whether it was good, bad, or if they have a story of a situation where things worked out or relationships were severed, because this stuff's important to us. We want to know which route of topics we should keep going. So with that, I will digress into the Nancy can.
The Nancy can. So we have the Nancy can here. Right, it's got a crack on the bottom.
Around, you can see how full it is.
So
right. We have been doing our due diligence.
But it's cracked on the bottom, and there's a lot of weight from the coins, and there's going to be more weight from the coins as we go on. So we got a little treasure chest to put the coins in, and when the treasure chest is full, we'll cash it in, put the money in the bottom, and keep going.
So I'll hold this. If you want to dump it, we'll do it.
We're doing it live, Nancy.
Live but recorded.
Live adjacent.
Yeah. All right. Do you have the key, the thumbprint, the reticle scanner?
And I did swear in this episode a couple times, so, and I
because it's an emotional topic.
We've been doing good. We've been doing good. But you shouldn't want us to do good, because that means less money for the Nancy can.
I'm actually eager. I think maybe that
for a few times.
We should do a count of what we have here before our semi-annual. Like, we'll bring it to the bank and get a count for it and find out where we're at the 6-month mark and just see. Because we got some serious weight in there. That might be why the printer doesn't work anymore.
We broke the printer. All right, folks. But yeah, thank you for listening to us. And we're just two guys. We don't speak for the organization. We've said that before. We'll say it again. We don't speak for Veterans to Veterans Group. We speak for ourselves. I speak for me. Chuck speaks for himself. And this is how we feel. And
we're
let
not
us
trying
know.
to persuade you to do anything other than have intellectual conversations.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
Have a real conversation. It doesn't have to be a verbal fight. You don't have to, you don't have to disown somebody over this kind of stuff.
Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr will get the pistols out and have a duel.
We'll have a duel. So somebody's going to lose.
We should do that with Nerf guns. That should be a
cool.
video.
Yeah. See who's right. Let fate decide.
Yeah. Have a great one.
Thanks, folks.